Hey, everybody. We're back at it again with another feedback episode here on Lightshare. I'm with Dom and Andre, and we're going to just
Hello.
jump right into it, I guess. So, well,
How's it going?
before we start, thank you for your submissions and everything you guys have sent us in our Discord server. And we're picking them in the same chronological order in which we received them. And this is, I think, where we left in the previous episode. So, yeah, let's
Cool.
see.
So
What do we
our
have here? Character design. Cool.
characters, yeah.
I would love to.
Carlos Beta.
Carlos says, "Hello guys, I'd love to get some feedback on how to improve in character design." And he sends all of these different characters, sketches. This one's rendered. All right. Any comments on the first impression?
I like the rendering style.
Yeah, first glance,
I think it's
everything
pretty
looks
cool.
very
Like
cool.
this is great. What do you guys think?
I think first glance, everything looks cool, but if you're asking about design specifically, I think we can talk maybe about proportions and stuff. And I'm not speaking necessarily about anatomy and anatomically correct stuff, like perhaps balances, of shapes or yeah, design language maybe. Like it's pretty clear what the theme is, right? It's this punk rock guy, right?
Mhm.
Spiky,
Maybe
ripped
the
jeans.
the
Everything's
gesture
yeah.
could be improved again, like making it flow with this type of shape here, because this shape's going like this way, but then we're pointing this way off to the right. So making that flow kind of coherent with the
Yeah.
background.
I think
Kind of,
also like in terms of gesture, all of these, even the variations, they look quite stiff.
yeah.
And having him like if he's kind of pointed to that side and then resting the arm here, like exaggerating that movement, and then making him like lean more on one leg than the other. This one would be like more
Yeah.
flared out, balancing like the counterbalancing his shoulder. I think that could help. Another thing like that kind of defeats the purpose of the pose itself, which is it seems to me that the idea is to exaggerate the movement, like he's pointing the bats to the same side as his hands, but then you put him on this like weird jacket that is oversized on one side and kind of like form fitting on the other.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
And then you don't see like his waistline or anything here, and then
Mm.
oh, I was looking at it trying to see if the arms were too short because they do look too short. Yeah, especially like this
Mm.
one.
Yeah.
But this is exaggerated by the fact that like this thing here is super baggy on him, so the arm like it's even shorter than it looks like, and it seems like it's a style choice. The arms being too short because like all of these have that, and the like high heels on his boots kind of exaggerate that feeling. So
Yeah.
stylistically, it's not bad. It's just that it's like inconsistency because one arm is like longer than the other, and you're also not emphasizing that with the design of your clothing. And then there's some stuff to do with the rendering as well, where like stuff that is supposed to be flat is a bit rounded. You know, um, the light source is not consistent all throughout, and then like you have super flat areas like this where it could benefit from making it a little bit rounder because you did on the other leg, right? Like this one looks way rounder, and that's to
Thing is,
do with
yeah,
like this little shadow here. It
good
could
to
help
choose
with
one
that
light
as well.
source. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, I have an example here. Good artist. Something like this would help. Just having like a light source coming down in one singular direction. That would help a lot to define these shadow areas, like shadow versus light. Yeah, and it could give it like a more dynamic sort of feel.
Yeah, and also like working that light on every area, right? So like if the jacket is on top of the shirt, like we would see the cast shadow there. It would actually throw shadow into a bunch of these areas. And what's really nice, like I understand the idea of using the rim light, but you can do that like after you put a strong like one direction light if you want to.
Mhm.
And I want like, is it Carlos, right? I want you to think about things. I understand that you are making stylistic choices, but there still need to have things that make sense, you know. So like, although this example is more realistic, the key takeaway is mostly like the strong light
The
source.
forms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how it like conveys the forms really well, and how you can play with composition with that too, you know.
Cool. What
And
about the
also
line
like,
work?
uh,
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, it's just talking about design, right? There are things that are common amongst all of these guys that I would not really consider design variations, right? Like if you want the bat to look cool, maybe you would do call out sheet just for the bat and do a bunch of variations of how that looks like. Um, Depends as well. Like try to so like this common element of the little studs spike on the jacket, right? Like how much of a variation this actually is, it's debatable. Or the fact that all of them are using like almost the same amount of belts, almost the same positioning. The spacing when you come to like the final one, where like it's not really designed out. It seems like you just wanted to put like some high value shiny stuff there. The shirt doesn't look really tucked in there because there's no a stretch, or like it's not really being pulled down.
Mm.
It's a bunch of like small little design cues that you get, and then understanding how those communicate what you're trying to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Cool. We jump into the next one now.
Sure.
Okay.
Going down to Embrisky.
Yeah, we picked these ones to the left first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
I remember from this one that I thought they were separate pieces, but it's just like a progress shot, you know. There's like
yeah.
a work in progress, and then this is the final, I think. And this has like some 3D elements implemented into the 2D workflow. Um, I see an issue of values maybe with the ship,
Hmm.
especially the one on the far right. Like it can be brighter than the background that is closer to us. It looks like the mountain should be covering this one, and it's a huge ship, and it belongs in the background behind all that haze and stuff. And then
Yeah, this
yeah,
this
go
value is kind of blending with
yeah,
the
exactly,
rocks or mountain here.
exactly, yeah. Should be darker, you know, on the bottom here
Yeah.
to pop
Or some
over.
atmosphere in between. The composition, like the different size of elements back here, is a little bit random. Like these shapes, you know. There's like a moon here, and then there's like mountains, and then more spheres. So I'll just like pick a focal point back here to choose as like one thing to focus on. And yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like
Also,
dead
like,
center.
yeah, on the sizing of things, this mounting thing here in the back, like if you're using a long lens, which seems like you're like, how tall is this thing? You know,
Right. Yeah.
because they're kind of flattening everything out, and then
Gets out of the
like
frame.
those would be like extremely huge in real life.
It's
And
also
then how
cut
much
really
space
close
those
to
take.
the tip, almost like
Yeah.
almost a tangent, but not really. Same as the other
Yeah,
one
Oh yeah.
on the left.
there's a lot of almost tangents,
Yeah, I see. I see. Yeah.
like it's uh so the impression that I got like first sight on this one is that you're trying to emulate Spart, like working with shapes and flat planes and that sort of thing, painting on top. But I would work a little bit more on this stage here, trying to get those things nailed down before you move into like plain photos and that sort of thing, because a bunch of these issues could be solved here. And then whenever you add a new element like this shape here, this becomes a whole different image, like it's not the same composition anymore, it's not the same narrative anymore. So like even the shape language, a bunch of things here have like this rounded format and everything, and you are putting on a extremely angular shape right in front, trying to link those two as if like because of these ships back here, which also by the way are way too big to be back there, like to be the same one. If they're supposed to be related, having the shape language be more common would help, because right now they look like two distinctive factions or whatever civilizations. Like trying to think of those things as one. And it seems like we're trying to do like a sequence of a bunch of these images with the bottom one as well. And over here, like you see the very same effect. It seems like this ship is approaching the guys down the bottom. So like you see the little
Yeah.
rounded heads and everything. Like these two are very clearly two different civilizations, right? It's a different kind of construction, a different shape language. It's
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing that's happening here. So now we have like three different uh, cultures clashing. Over here, we have two different cultures clashing.
Yeah. Maybe he was trying to represent like an industrial zone or something in the distance, and then somewhere closer, this village thing you're talking about.
These look a bit duplicated right here.
Which ones?
These things.
Oh,
So
the people. Yeah.
just make sure to vary up the characters' silhouettes and the shapes so it doesn't look the same. You can like reuse them, but just change up the
Yeah,
shapes.
you can rearrange them in a different distribution.
All right. And the right composition.
Oh, damn. There's
Oh,
sketches
calm
on.
down, just a second. Real quick.
Okay.
Back on this one, I just noticed it, like the thrusters.
Oh, yeah. Where's that coming from?
They So when you have a light source, right, it usually gets brighter as you approach the light source, and it kind of like fades away.
Yeah.
Over here, it seems like the rays are coming out of nowhere.
But what if that's like vapor, and they glow because of the sunlight hitting them from the side or something?
Oh,
I don't
then
know.
like that's a whole different issue, right? Because then you have,
Yeah.
although smoke is translucent, it also has form to it. So you
Yeah.
kind of like would paint some form to that. That's why, like when you see clouds, they kind of look like, even if it's a vapor cloud, it kind of looks like a cloud, and
Hmm.
it has like its core shadow and everything else. So you see, if the background is darker, you kind of see just the highlights, and if the background is lighter, you only see the shadows of that smoke. That sort of
Plus,
deal.
I'm
It's
thinking,
because
even if this was like high pressure vapor or something, like if I was those people, I wouldn't get close to that thing unless they want to get like
yeah, I mean,
very
there's no
burned.
case like if it's a thruster, you'll not get close,
Yeah.
and then it seems like we're trying to show the effect of that here on the ground,
Yeah.
but also remember that it has a fall off, right? So it kind of like blows things away
Hmm.
Yeah, there'd probably be more
with like a
dust and
focal
stuff
point.
and like
Yeah,
plumes of smoke. And then you add someone here. This needs to be differentiated. Foreground character.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe darker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or just have nothing here. Just take it out.
Yeah. Also, maybe the sky is a little too dark here on the
Yeah.
top.
This is the same value as this.
Yeah, it blends in too much. Like you should focus more on the focal point, which is this obviously this giant ship, and we should see a little less of the one in the background. Maybe you could cover that with some dust and particles and stuff like that.
Yeah, that
And
can be just a silhouette, Like you
mm,
can have a mountain here that throws shade into that. So even like at the sunsetting kind of scenario that I have here, it will be catching this area.
yeah, you
And then
know,
a really cool thing. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I understand that this is not being treated like a final elaborated painting or something. It's more like a sketch to visualize an idea or something like that because it doesn't look like too overly detailed or anything like that. Um, and I just noticed things like these leaves here, like this brush that he used, like they all point in the same direction and everything. There's not much. It's the repetition thing that Dom talked about before, like the characters being just replicated exactly the same, like cloned. In fact, in this picture, you can tell like they're not even the color blending is like not matching the surroundings because they're like I think they're still the same color scheme as in this one, which is like bluish. But yeah,
Mm.
sorry, Andre, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I think the light direction here with the sun setting is also a bit confusing. First of all, like the light's coming from this direction, and then you have like a super bright spot right over there, over the horizon. So it's almost as if we have like multiple suns pointing to this area, like one from here, another one from there. But then, if the sun is coming like from below, right, because it's near the horizon line, it's kind of like shining up, so it would illuminate the bottom area of all of these clouds, and
Yeah,
then it would also give you opportunity to illuminate the top part of all of those mountains. And in terms of composition, like having all of these streaks of light pointing towards your vehicle, and then having the bright clouds here with this super dark shape
you would have some
in
bounced
front of it.
light.
Yeah, but all like imagine that how much stronger the silhouette would be
Yeah, because it
if you
blends in.
have
You
like
see
lighter clouds. Yeah,
here.
it blends in a little bit too much. And then the like what's going on the inside? Like it's just flat planes. If you don't have it designed in 3D, you can just like do a photo bashing inside of it, to add some details there to actually design the interior of your ship.
Also, there's no characters in the ship anymore. Like if this is
Yeah,
supposed to
that's what I
be.
mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Like if
It's empty.
which one do you think goes first? Like is this the order? I don't think because this one's coming to the camera, right? Towards the camera. So it's leaving.
Hmm.
They left those people there. So
Probably
hmm,
need some
Or they
context.
are kidnapping those
if it
people.
yeah, but either way, if it's coming here, then they would have these soldiers on board. If it's leaving, then they would have people on board because maybe they're rescuing these villagers or something. I don't know the story behind the
The
piece.
ship here is actually going the other way. That's why it comes. This is the back of the ship.
Oh, as the back. Okay. Okay. For
No,
some
I'm just
reason,
messing with you.
it,
It's just that
I don't know.
I'm just
Judging by
I'm
the
just showing
shape.
how like
Yeah.
yeah, but how it's confusing. Like if you if you don't know the if you're like the reason why you brought up the order is because it doesn't make too much sense to have this one first and then this one.
Yeah.
But like this is how much you can mess up with the narrative of your design, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I look for that continuity behind between the pieces if you're attempting to make like a sequence, so you have several shots from the same scene depicting you know a narrative story over time. And yeah, anything else on this piece?
Yeah.
We can
I
jump.
think
Yeah, we could jump onto the next one.
for this one, This just needs like the match of the color direction, right? Like it's kind of washed out,
Yeah,
and the
desaturated.
scaling is a bit strange. Like between the clone thingy and this stuff in the foreground.
I think these clouds here kind of got you confused because you're using their color and tone like all around here, but the proportion with the reference photo is like way smaller. So maybe you should focus more on this portion of it.
Yeah, treat the background as the last resort. You know, the last thing you're spending your time on. Focus on the main thing. The main thing here is obviously this giant sand hole or whatever is being generated there, right?
Yeah. Also, like on the sketches, one thing that it did pretty well is to show the effect of this, like on the rest of the environment, you know. And I feel like you didn't do that here.
Yeah,
Like all of
those
these
lines are
converging
lost.
lines. Yeah, like where's the rest of the sand kind of like getting affected, you know?
Hmm.
I think I just need like an extra reference for the circle or the cyclone hole. Because this works, but like
I
I
mean,
don't know, maybe look at
I don't know if that ever
sandstorm.
happens like with sand, right? Like the way you see it in like a vortex of water or even
Mhm.
clouds or something. I mean, you could use a yeah, sure, this could work, the clouds kind of thing, and you just paint that in the same color and texture that than this sandstorm or you know.
Yeah, but even if
Yeah.
you take this photo, you know, like duplicate it around and warp it, you know,
Yeah.
it will still give a better feel. Because like again, is the idea of the composition, right? Like this thing here, like we have a bunch of what looks like random bits of sand floating around. It would be cool if in the sketch you also decide your values already, or at least had a scheme for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like what we see here on these storms is that the sky gets pretty dark, and then it will give you more opportunity to make the ship be the focal point, because then everything else is darker, and you see like this by accident, like being illuminated by a ray of light that comes through, and it also has the engines that are quite bright.
Yeah.
Oops, I think
I would use
Yeah.
that directionality thing that Andrea talks about, you know, like the lines kind of leading to some vortex kind of forming thing here. And you can use this spiral effect, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
then or if it's not like this in this axis, maybe you can tilt it a little bit or something, you know, you could make it like more like this or something. And
Yeah.
this way you can have like, you know, this Saturn rings effect kind of thing of debris kind of flying, but in like these directions, right? Instead of like, hang on, let me undo. Instead of away from it like this.
yeah,
Because
because then when it
this
comes
is
to the
cool,
ship,
but it defeats the purpose of the design of what you're trying to build here, which is a circular, rotating, spinning thing, right?
yeah, and then the ship would become just that much stronger, you know, because it's like the one straight thing on your whole composition,
Yeah.
because everything else is like circular. And also, like if you pay attention to it, the ship itself, like the thrusters are kind of angled uh, a little bit, like the ship's pointing that way, then the
Mm-hmm.
thrusters are like
Oh,
not
right.
actually
Yeah,
following
they
that
should
line.
follow the same. If the ship is going here, then everything that leaves behind should be following the perspective of the camera and
Yeah,
everything. And also, guys, when you do this kind of stuff, this is supposed to be like a huge amount of light coming in from there, right? Because they generate that light. So if you just use the, let's say, the part that glows the most, just make it white. You know, think of a lightsaber, how only the edges are colored. you know. And then
Hmm.
the inner side is always white, except for that
Yeah.
other dark lightsaber or whatever that is. But it's usually the exterior that is slightly colored. So if you make this white, you know, all these dots, you make them white. Hang on, let me zoom in a little bit. If you make
Okay.
these
Do
dots
this.
white and then only the surroundings are like slightly, in fact, you can fix this easily if you just pick like a color dodge or something like that and just click on each dot. It'll look a little more um, coherent maybe, because right now it looks like yeah, you're trying to bring some color accent, you know, with this blue, and it's really quite something to balance out the saturation values and everything between this and the rest of the image, you know. And by the way, I for some reason I feel like everything should be slightly in light here, but the ship should be entirely like a silhouette,
It needs some like
fully in shadow,
atmosphere
you
like
know.
this,
Well, I think it's either
where
or. Like it the fact is like the you need a composition to show that the ship's going there, right? And you can either make it darker, going to the brighter area, or the other way around.
this is the amount of
I
smoke
added
I think that should be added, like dust kicking up, and like there needs to be smaller clouds right here, indicated.
well, that's also a good point, right? Like when you're doing the composition, think of the big, medium, small, you know, like a huge cloud there, and then like some smaller ones and a medium one, that sort of thing,
Yeah,
because it will help like with the whole composition.
it needs
I added some
lighting.
references for the thruster as well. If you just take this and do like a hue saturation shift and put it on screen, like it's half of your problem solved.
Right. Even this one works.
It this tinier details. Uh, what is this?
For the smoke or the clouds. Like
Oh, I
you
see.
got big, medium, small, but now you need like the tinier details, like the more refined smoke, edges, silhouettes. Like see here how this area has like really tiny cloud
Yeah.
details. It needs like that.
It's basically like this. Look, there's like a big shape here, you know. Then there's another big shape here. And then just pay attention to the edges, you know. There's detail here,
Yeah.
here, and then some color accent here. And this is
Hmm.
obviously the focal point. And then your tiny little silhouetted character, the car and stuff. But look at the floor though. It's all like
Hmm.
almost flat, you know.
And everything's pulling you in as well.
And it has direction. Look, you can, if you pay attention, you can spot those lines, you know, pointing where they're going. So,
Another thing is like going back to the sketches a little bit is they're all kind of like same distance from the vortex, same general
size
horizon
almost.
line, the same general size. Yeah, it would be cool if you're doing sketches. Like think of the whole scene and where you're seeing it from. Because let's say I could have the vortex like on my right hand side, and then I only see. Let me sketch over here.
Just look at your
I could see it
horizon line,
like
you know.
from the side, and then you see the ship here, so that like this is one way to do it. So like the ship is getting swallowed by this whole cloud thing, or I could be right below it, and the vortex is gigantic, and I see like the ship coming through like from the diagonal as well. Um, it is not all just you behind the ship and it going into the vortex. I would like you to think of actual creative ways to show the scene that already exists. So, what's your scene? The scene is ship going to the vortex. How many different angles I can get from that? And make sure that like all of them look super cool on the sketch because you are actually trying to give your best on all of these different compositions. It's not just oh, I already know what I will do. I'll see it from behind and I'll like go into the vortex. Yeah, that's cool and fine. Like a better way to be creative about it and to show that you have range would be to place your viewer on multiple different points. And also a good way to do that, like that would be quite easy, is just like place a cylinder on the like open up 3D, create a cylinder, put that there, put a little block like where the ship would be, and then look at the scene from different angles, you know, see what kind of composition you can make with that, because there can be a lot of strong compositions within the same scene, and it doesn't feel like you're exploring its whole range, like the full potential of the scene, just with these thumbnails, because they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yep. Keep it up, guys. Good stuff. Now, we've got one more left here. Characters. These are
Tim.
from Tim. All right. Where do we begin? So these are apparently like some post-apocalyptic.
Characters.
Yeah.
Do they belong to the same universe? Doesn't seem like it.
I
think
don't know.
so.
I like to think they do, and they just are from like different tribes or something. They belong to different groups. But you know, immediately
off the
there's
bat.
I can, you know, when I
Yeah.
see this at first glance, what I think of is like stiffness or something like that. You know, like I get it. This guy,
Needs gesture.
this is a tough guy,
Yeah.
right? Like he's meant to stay in this very stable pose and stuff, but still, it's very stiff. You know, maybe the arms are probably too stretched, and there's obviously some anatomy implications here. Like, I don't know if the face is actually like by design like that, or it's just a mistake because you know the angles are a little strange. The mouth, the nose, the the ear. I don't know, but in general, you know, you can see that yeah, he used some photo bashing and stuff here and there, but if you don't practice like figure studies, you know, people who just draw like almost this kind of stuff, very gesture-ish, you know, like with the whole lines of flow and like the figures and all that stuff. If you don't do that, then you can just start from a mannequin in 3D or something, you know, or just a picture. In fact,
Yeah.
it gets as creative as you can, you know, like maybe just take a picture of yourself, make sure it's the right camera angle and stuff, because if you take it from up too close, of course, it's going to be distorted. The GoPro effect and stuff is going to be way too wide angle. So for this kind of stuff, this presentation, this is taken with like a long distance lens, most likely 50, 75 millimeter. I don't know exactly, but you can take a picture of yourself and just paint on top of that your own figure. You know, you can distort from there, or just start in 3D. You know, just get some. I don't know. Daz, for instance, has like plenty of resources. Daz 3D, if you guys want to check that out, I think it's free. And yeah, just start from there maybe. But there, you know, stuff like Daz is cool because you can pose the character, and they're really well rigged. I'd like to think, even though there's some space for funny stuff to happen around some joints, but just use that, you know, and then on top of it, you keep designing, because otherwise you end up with this stiffness, you know, in the character, and maybe the proportions are not necessarily accurate, you know, feet that don't really look like that, even though I understand they
Yeah.
have boots on top of them,
Feet.
but you see this kind of stuff.
There's always like a box, you know, shape for the foot. Just make sure you try
Yeah.
to draw that out. And like for the face too, like look up proportionally accurate faces if you're trying to get more realism in the characters. Like just look at portrait references. If you have to photo bash a face in and like paint over it, like I would do that. But like the face should be kind of like one of the main things, because as humans, you know, we look at human faces more often. So
That's where your
we have to
attention goes first.
connect to the character in some way. Yeah. What about design wise? Like, what do you think of this? I feel like if you
Everything's
were
kind of
to run
grayish, right? Like,
It can be more balanced.
this,
It's at least, for instance, the one on the right, I get the idea, but it's like it feels like there's so many elements all over the place with no
yeah,
balance of proportions between them. You know, like for instance, he's got the rope, he's got this thing around his neck, the spine, and then, for instance, this is what we're talking about. This arm
yeah.
here,
Yeah, I think
very
like
tubular,
overall,
no
study
form.
gesture and anatomy, right? Like
Yeah,
even if you're using photos, it will help you prevent that. In terms of design, like the fact that all of these they have basically the same size, you're missing a huge opportunity to just emphasize the gesture. So like imagine if these were gigantic here, like they kind of thin out as they approach the
one of the
extremities.
best books to learn from.
Yeah.
yeah,
And Bridgman.
yeah. Also, the ones from Bridgman are really good.
Then like you are cutting your character in half, which because your proportions are not super nailed down, like it's making the legs look way too short for the amount of torso that you have. Uh,
Yeah,
like if this guy was actually like these proportions were good, like this would be its crotch, you know. So like he's using his pants basically below the crotch, which is not ideal.
yeah. Because usually
Uh,
belts like these are worn more like on the waist, so they would probably cover the belly button and everything. You know, around there.
The
It make
hand here.
they make the chest look a
So
little shorter when they're that wide. And also the like the shadows, you know, these ambient occlusion things that I've got here, especially the face. You know, it has way darker values that we never see again across the body. So, you know, here maybe, you know, stuff like here. There's none of that anymore.
yep.
I mean, it's even harder to judge the design. I know, like we mentioned it already, so I don't want to just keep bashing on it. But the idea of the fundamentals here is very clear. You know, like if you're still not completely confident with gesture and anatomy, take a photo and work on top of that.
Yeah.
Because then you can create multiple variations on top of it. Then when it comes to design as well, like you are really not helping yourself with the background because the character is already super grayish. You are not going super dark or super light anywhere. The value differentiation is not quite there. Then you're throwing that on a gray background. Like everything is gray, you know, like it's just a little bit darker, a little bit lighter gray. But it would be nice to see you explore the range a bit more and create like value groupings, you know. So like, oh, this material is usually this value. It's a bit better on the first character just because you have this extra dark material, but then like you're really not helping yourself here because the silhouette is not distinctive enough for us to recognize the parts, and then everything is super dark. So there's a lot of blending going on.
It needs a distinct light source. Just top left, top right, you know, or top down.
Yeah.
Something so we can see the 3D
You
shapes
see it in the face pretty
form.
well there,
Yeah.
but then you no longer see it anywhere
And then
else.
it gets
It's
flat.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very flat.
So need more
Also,
contrast.
a good way to approach this also would be like just silhouetting, you know? You can just start with like blobs of paint and just try to find big shapes and build from there, you know? Like you just paint like an entire thing like this and you take the eraser tool and then you start removing and it's basically shape carving, you know, like that guy shape carver.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then
exactly.
this is how you can find maybe this is not working very well. Let me erase it. Let me actually add maybe like a circle here. I'll figure out what that is, you know. But if in your case you need the spiky thing, you know, you just try experimenting with smaller spikes, bigger spikes, this, that, and then you figure out exactly what works for you. And you wasted no time, you know, obviously with a more sophisticated program than Miro's drawing capabilities, you'll get to those results way faster. And
You
I
want to
added
get
some references here that you
yeah,
can use to guide yourself as well. Like, see how the silhouette is very clear, how each of them have,
mhm,
even the white on white one, like the silhouette's pretty clear because you use some clever brush work
yeah,
to define those edges. Um, and then like each one of them is very unique and they have good proportion and everything. It's not super perfect, you know, it's like not very detailed because you don't need that amount of detail. And then we do have
yeah,
like a cleaner version of from another artist here that maybe suits your style a little bit better. But check to see how like every single one of them has a very clear silhouette, has a very clear light
yeah.
source. The
mhm,
values of the clothing are like very well established. Like look at this one as an example, you know, like it's light and then you have this nice dark shape
dark,
here, then another
light.
light shape kind of intertwined there, and then you do have some mid-range values
And they have
complementing the form.
gray background
But
too, right? But you can see their
yeah,
choices pop a lot more over that gray background than, for instance, in your case here with this guy. This guy is basically all very gray. You know, it has no highlights, no very dark spots. But these guys use a more wider range, I would say, of values. And remember what we said about the stiffness of the pose and stuff. Look at this guy. You know, well, let me get a better one. You see, it's you could say, oh, this guy's stiff too, but he's got all that movement emulated by you see these robes and stuff like that hanging from. You can see lines of direction in the
Yeah,
clothes.
these ones.
Yeah, all the foldings and
yeah. One
everything.
of the knees is a little bit like one of them is pointing forward a little bit bent. The
Yeah,
other one's more
this
towards the
leg
side, and then
exactly.
the chest is more towards you. So you can see that one leg is kind
Yeah,
of like you see the
the
whole rotation
the
between the
face is
pelvis and the
also
torso
pointing more like that. You know, it's like
upwards.
not.
Yeah.
And also these elements that break the silhouette. You know, it's like that proportion we were talking about. It's all there in each and every single one of these characters. They each have their details, their areas of rest. Like for instance, this lady, you see, it's you guys were talking about. Uh, well, I think it's a lady. Anyway, this is like where most of the details would usually go. You know, the concentration of, especially in the face, in the head, and it's like big, medium, small, right? Actually,
Mhm.
big, medium, small. But this is usually how, you know, all this recipe normally works. There's exceptions once you learn how to play with those rules, of course, but at the core, it's always the same patterns. Everybody has
Also,
that. Look, big area of rest, big area of rest, here, the coats, everything. Everybody has them. And these white little elements here, then tinier here, but it's usually, again, it's usually the head that has the most of that attraction, you know,
and check
capability.
out like this guy is also using a low cut to his like pants, you know,
Yeah.
like they are sitting pretty low on his body, but then, like the pelvis is here, so the pants are
Yeah.
actually like pretty low. But you're just emphasizing the waist, you know, when you do this, because then it looks like really thin on this portion.
Right.
Um,
Imagine he didn't have that. He was like this,
yeah.
you know.
So you do like you can play with the where the character wear his wears his clothes, you know, like can be a little bit more baggy, can be a little bit more loose, can be a little bit more tight, but like try to think of how that emphasizes or de-emphasizes certain aspects of his physique, and then what that character in terms of personality would do, you know. So would that character as a personality like to emphasize his physique, or would he like to kind of like mask it out a little bit more, you know, like does he have parts of the body that are not quite as flattering and he's trying to not show them too much, or is he like more of a confident kind of guy and then he wants to show his abs because whatever, you know. I don't know, like, this sort of decision making that comes from the personality of the character will inform you how to do stuff on yours, you know, like why is this guy shirtless, you know, why is he wearing this kind of like bone spine thing on his back, where do the belt come from, like he doesn't have a weapon but then this kind of looks like weapon parts on his belt.
Yeah,
Also,
What's
it
up with
just
looks
that?
define.
the bone
Right.
thing looks like it's just almost sitting on his shoulders, but it's not. It's kind of like in the backside of him. But then it falls on the front, you know, in front of his arm. So it goes like this, and then it fades in the back, like how it would actually sit on him, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, in order for it to work that way, he would kind of have to be hunched over, right?
Hmm.
Like so that it forms that kind of an angle, or it would like come forward so you would see the distortion of that like passing through here.
Yeah, they would have to continue over on this side
Yeah,
so they can actually sit like that. Go ahead, Dom.
yeah. I do think a lot of these issues are due to fundamentals. You know, both fundamentals of design and also from art. You know, like character design in general. But
I think for the left one, yeah, going back to the design, what I was gonna say about this pouch here, it's a little obscure. Like if you were to run or something, this would kind of be uncomfortable in the front here. So like putting this in the back, I think would be suitable. There's like different belts and clips here, but like for what is the main reason, like the main purpose?
yeah, he's carrying ammunition without a
Shoulder.
firearm,
Hmm.
right?
You wouldn't see this insignia, by the way. You wouldn't see that logo.
Yeah.
More like this. If this
The
one
hand value is
was
kind of blending
correct.
too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
see, it's like usually it's like perspective issues like that, and I get it. This is probably because you were trying to use the same picture here and there, but still, you can just move it around and just let us see this part of it only here, and that's it. Same
Also
story
the
with this. I don't think we would see it like that over there.
the silhouette could be improved. Like it's if you're just turning this whole thing black, a black silhouette, it's just like a plain character. Nothing really
Stands out.
stands out, I would say. So just do more concepting with silhouettes. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would split your day between like practicing some fundamentals. Maybe start every morning with some gesture drawing, like get the juices flowing, and then you do
Yeah.
this sort of thing. It will help, like it will make it easier, and then you practice a little bit of fundamentals every day, because like it's not one day of doing this that will get you there. I can tell you from experience. I'm trying to get better at gesture myself, and like it's pretty damn hard. So we're not saying that it's easy, but it's just needed, you know. Like if you have a hard time, like I do, with gesture, uh, you just need to put time on it. So
Yeah.
Took me like a whole semester to learn gesture and anatomy.
Damn.
Like 5 months at least of just grinding.
Yeah.
So definitely practice.
It's just a lifetime of practicing, you know, that gets you to master
Yeah.
it. And then you still don't know how to draw hands. So imagine how hard that is, you know?
Yeah. And feet and
And
everything you
yeah.
want to
don't
hide.
worry, we have AI to do the hands for us.
Oh, right.
And we just tweak it a
No
little
way.
bit. That's it.
Hey, I just wanted to say a quick thing about these ones here. though they look really cool, this can lead beginners to try specific brush packs and stuff like that, as if
Oh
it's
yeah,
like the sauce of the formula, the secret formula, to
the
do this.
juice of the
Then you get
the
these
brushwork.
brushes, and it doesn't look at all like this. And it's because the people making these kind of sketches using those kind of brushes, they know how to use those brushes. It's not the first time they're using these brushes, and they just made these characters. And if it is in this case, then I'm surprised, but it's usually not. So
They already have the knowledge of gesture and anatomy,
exactly. Keep it.
so it's
I would say I would advise to keep it simple and just use something like a hard round brush or square brush or whatever you want. Like it doesn't even have to have any texture. Just the basic brushes. And once you just nail it down to the simple things, it gets way easier to experiment with some more sophisticated brushes or stuff like that. So yeah, I would say this is a pretty nice way to wrap it up. Just keep the values simple, keep the silhouette simple. Start with like the very basics, and use everything at your disposal. If you have 3D, then 3D. If you can take a picture of yourself or someone who can pose for you, then amazing. You can have a nice background or a nice base to design upon. And with that being said, I guess that covers
thanks
it all
guys for watching.
for today's episode. Yeah, thanks for watching. We hope you liked it, and we hope to see you in the next episode. See you
See you
soon.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye bye.